Now I can compare the two the two regimes, Nyamweya's regime and probably the current regime. I was an active insider. I would call myself, I was an insider during the Nyamweya tenure. I remember there was an incident when the national team was traveling to Cape Verde, and we were set to travel at about 9. That was Wilson Airport. We had all assembled, ready to travel for the World Cup qualifying. That is when the owner of the plane decided not to let it leave Nairobi because of the payment. So it's a major thing. It's something that I can remember very well. I took my time, called the president himself. I didn't get him because it was a World Cup qualifying, and you know the consequences of not attending a match. So I called him. I didn't get him, and probably tried to get him through his close aides. I didn't get him, but after about 2 to 3 hours, he called me on my line and asked me what was the urgency. I explained to the Excellency what was involved, the consequences of not missing that match, not attending that match. So he got hold of our Waziri, who by that time was Wario, who came at about 7 in the evening and settled the problem. They paid our trip in full. So we left Nairobi at about 9. I remember the president calling me at about 9, asking me why are we not left. I remember, was it Mariga had issues with the plane itself? I remember, is it Tottenham? Tottenham called him and cautioned him on the risks he's indulging himself in traveling in that plane, because it was a small plane which would have stopovers everywhere because of the fuel issue. He didn't have the big tank, so Tottenham called him, and by 9:30 is when we left for Cape Verde. It took us 24 hours to reach Cape Verde. We reached Cape Verde the next day at about 3, and the match was 4. I remember we played the match and we lost, but it was due to the I would call mismanagement of the national team. I call myself very lucky because this other regime, Nyamweya's Nick's regime, I was privileged to have traveled to France, so the team preparation, so the structural organization of the team. If you ask me, it's way above what we are used to as Kenya. Not Nyamweya's regime alone. I would even single out Hatimi's regime where things are not well organized. And like what I'm seeing now, I was in France. I done a day or two of interaction with the team. Then probably finished our trip in Egypt, where I attended all the 3 matches. If you ask me, the organization, the payment, the efficiency of the team is compared to none. So those are the few differences I've seen. I've been to the 2 regimes, and I think Nick should be commended for his organization skills, the planning of the team, the payment of the team. I remember when we were in France, 2 days before we left for Cairo, players were asked if anyone among the team has not received his payment in full, not in bits. And it's a commendable thing. Team does not have a problem with the payment, the allowances. Now, all is left for the players to play, but the management has tried its level best. Another thing that I've noticed compared to the other regimes is the organization of the under-20, the youth sides. If you ask me, we didn't have such categories during Nyamweya's regime where under-20s would perform, the women team would effectively perform. In fact, I remember I was actively involved in the women national team during Nyamweya's tenure. I traveled with the team to South Africa. I traveled with the team to Egypt. Comparing now, we have under 20 that is actively participating. We have the women team that is camped, although it's got its own challenges. But I remember when we were with Nyamweya's regime, when we had no sponsors. I remember I talked to the current governor, who by that time was the Minister for Devolution, Madam Anne Waiguru, who came out and helped the team in full. Even our South African trip, she fully sponsored as in kits and. But as per now, I think there are some organizations within the youth ranks. There is a lot of improvement.